transfer portal and the introduction of NIL is starting to ruin college football for me just a little bit. Let me tell you why. Number one, I miss some of the college traditions that we are very much being stripped of right now. And the main one for me is players from smaller schools sort of putting their team on the map and carrying that team to heights for years and years. And I think that we are not going to see as much of that anymore. For example, and I'm going to use UTSA for an example because it's my alma mater, and we are dealing with some of this right now. You go back to 2022, our star receiver who broke every record at the program decided to transfer and play his last year at Ole Miss. He probably was guaranteed some money, and he probably looked at it and said, this is a better situation for me. This is going to help propel me to new heights so I can go to the NFL and possibly get drafted, so on and so forth. I hate that this happened for him, but it did not go well. He ended up only appearing in about 3 games for Ole Miss, and he had about 4 catches for 38 yards. One of those was a touchdown, right? So that's not a great situation. So now his chances of NFL after this is hurt significantly. Who knows if he'll even get an opportunity to make a team. But then you also look at this past season, just a couple of weeks ago, Trey Moore, who has won the AAC Defensive Player of the Year in 2023, decides, hey, you know what? It's been great, but I'm leaving. I'm leaving UTSA. He's going up the road to Austin to play for UT. And I like that some of these guys and some of these players are getting the autonomy to make their own decisions and do what they feel is best. Because for some of these schools and for some of these situations, that short-term money that they're going to get from these programs while they're in the program can be life-changing. Let's be very, very clear about that. And that is the part that I truly love that the players get to benefit from. However, who knows what will happen? And maybe Trey, I hope he goes to Texas, and I hope he does well. And I hope he realizes his NFL dreams. But the problem that you're going to essentially have is, number one, that's another player that was a great for UTSA who, as soon as he got good, had a good season, now he leaves. So that lessens notoriety for UTSA, because what if he does make it to the league? Whenever he talks about, or whenever he's at the combine, they're going to show University of Texas at the bottom of that screen. Whenever he's on Monday Night Football and he says his college and his position or whatever, he's going to say, I'm from the University of Texas. He's probably not going to say UTSA because he's going to graduate from University of Texas. And to me, those things matter for a smaller school, and those things help with recruiting. It helps with, donors who want to be involved in something that's big, in a successful program. You put a lot of schools in that position, and I'm just using UTSA as an example because that's what I'm closest to, but a ton of other schools can say the same thing. Look at Tulane. They just lost a really good, I want to say they lost 2 receivers. You look at North Texas, they lost their quarterback. You look at Memphis, they had a really good offensive lineman who left, right? So you have a lot of these teams and you use conferences like the AAC that when big-time players come through those schools, they're all going to get poached. They're all going to get poached. I don't know what the NCAA can do. I am telling you now, I can't offer a solution to that. But what I can do is highlight the problem is that now you're creating more separation between these P5 schools and these G5 schools. There's been a lot of talk about balance and expanding the playoffs so it could have more teams. And we can have G5 teams that actually have a chance to win national titles and things like that, right? But the system that has been put into play in 2021 is now undermining all of that balance that we're talking about, right? That balance is not there because guess what? Those Power 5 schools have more money, deeper pockets than the smaller schools. Because now all of it's going to it has already turned into who's paying the most money. These guys are hopping in the transfer portal. Who's paying the most money? I tell you this. The one thing also, and this takes me back to what I was mentioning regarding Zachary Franklin, who unfortunately left UTSA, and he's being used as an example, through San Antonio about, hey, the grass ain't always green on the other side. I feel like we are going to be in a situation where a lot of kids are going to make that same mistake. A lot of kids are going to leave a situation because of the short-term financial, benefits that comes with some of this, and screw up some of the long-term benefits that could come with that, which means go pro. So if you look at Zachary Franklin, as many records as that kid broke, as many spectacular catches he had, as many, impressive outings that guy's had, he would have 100% had an opportunity on the next level staying at UTSA. I don't care what anybody says. He would have 100% had a chance at the next level. We've had guys come out of UTSA that has went first round. We're starting to have guys. We have a Pro Bowler in Tariq Woolen, who just came out a couple of years ago. So the most important thing now is the advisors. Who's advising these guys? I can't blame the families. You can't blame the parents. You can't blame these individuals because they are going to be super supportive of their athlete, of their son, of their daughters, of whoever it is that's the athlete. They're going to be super supportive. My family was like that with me. They are almost it's hard for them to look at some of these situations objectively. It's difficult, especially when there's money on the table. You hear the rumors of some of these kids making hundreds of thousands of dollars in NIL money. And you may not get that at a UTSA, but UTSA is probably the path, or staying put is probably the path that gets you to achieving that long-term goal of the NFL. That's the goal. Not 1 year at Ole Miss and making $150,000 or something like that. I don't know. It's a random number. That's not the goal. 1 year of that, and then I don't do anything else. The goal is to go play on Sundays and get a long-term contract and play a few years to where you can retire and get a pension and all that type. That's the long-term goal. So the thing that sucks about this is a lot of these guys who are top players from small schools who are leaving, now they have to walk into situations where they are now competing with super top talent at these bigger schools. It's not a guarantee that Trey Moore is going to walk on a Texas Longhorns field and score. Now, I think he is, or I'm sorry, not score, but and start. I think he is as good as they get. But they have a ton of great athletes over there. But not even just a competition in that way. You also have to take some time to think about, hey, I'm playing in a defensive system that has made me successful, that has put me in a position to where I can be a standout player. Does that necessarily mean that I can just walk on? Go into the University of Texas, go into their defense, and have that same level of impact? Is that coordinator going to utilize me the same exact way as the coordinator in my current school? Is it going to work that way? And that's what I mean by it's almost best to have a third-party advisor that can look at these situations objectively and give advice on what the next move should be. That, to me, would help a lot of this. And I almost wish that there was some sort of review process from a third party that could be utilized without there being a conflict of interest in some way, shape, or form. I wouldn't want that in the NCAA's hands. I don't want the NCAA to install a committee that votes and approves transfers. No, I don't like that. But I do think that guys should at least be in a situation where they get some objective advice. And I know some guys, I think some people have agents advising them and things like that. Listen, these people that they're paying to advise there's conflict of interest everywhere. So I just wish that was put in place because, some of the other sporting traditions also, I feel like I like the autonomy side of it, but I don't want to lose some of the special stuff about tradition in colleges. Like some of the big schools will be able to maintain it to a degree. But like I miss the days and here's where we're headed down. I think about teams like, what was it, the 04-05 USC Trojans, where you had Matt Leinart, you had Reggie Bush, you had Lindell White and the crew, all those guys. And they were there for 3-4 years, all of them. And you had the same players, same core group of folks on that team who led that team to major success, and they became household names in their own way. Just like the Texans or the Longhorns with Vince Young. They had Jamar Charles there. They had, the Arakpo and the Griffin brothers. You had all of them there. You remember those folks because they were there for so long. The thing the transfer portal robs you of, and it's going to rob teams of, is everybody's playing, is hopping around. Everybody, they're even some of the bigger schools, and some of the bigger schools are having issues too. They get a disgruntled player, he's leaving. They get a 5-star recruit that they spent a lot of money recruiting. He doesn't start. He's leaving. You got to think about it. Whenever some of these guys are recruiting some of these folks, they're going to tell them you're going to come in and play. But once you get on campus, you got to earn that. And if you don't earn that job, then now you as a coach or the player, because they can leave now, or they'll just up and leave, they don't have time to develop. Maybe that 5-star recruit is really not ready to start at a big P5 school and play these high leverage games. That happens all the time, by the way. Just listen, and I will continue to always say this. The 4-star, 5-star, those are ratings. It means nothing when you step on the football field in camp. It means nothing. You see a 2-star beat out a 4-star all the time. It's why there's so many 4 and 5-star guys leaving programs and looking elsewhere right now. They can't go in and play immediately. There's a huge difference between high school ball and college ball. But guess what? These guys aren't going to be able to persevere from all that. And I think you're gonna see it's going to end up in sloppier football because you're going to have guys who aren't staying in programs for as long as they should. You're going to have a lot of guys who are coming in and all they're going to get is an off season and a camp, and then they start playing with this brand new team. You're going to get sloppier football. You're going to get kids who are ill-advised and, maybe mess up their long-term bag for some short-term money. And I just think it puts a lot of pressure on coaches. It's even going to hurt like the NFLs and how they evaluate players also is going to be a big one. Now, obviously, there's a lot of benefits. Players get to, if they don't like a situation, they get to leave. Trust me, I've seen situations where coaches will hold players. That has happened a lot. So, I think some of the transfer portal being a thing, you just got to put your name in and you can transfer. I like the autonomy for the player But I would hope that there are some, we can learn from some of these mistakes. There are certain practices put in place so players don't screw themselves out of big money long term because, they do this. So anyway, this is I don't like to wrap this up and to sum this up. I think we're creating too much separation between P5 and G5. You're doing it even more. I worry about the kids chasing this short-term money, especially the ones who are really good coming from smaller schools. You can go to the league and get drafted out of the smaller schools. It happens every year, and it will always happen. But they're going to go take the money to go to the bigger schools, and now they have to re-earn a position. No one talks about that. You got to go re-earn a position. That's what you have to go do. You have to go, for receivers, you're going to go to a whole new quarterback who doesn't know your tendencies. And trust me, quarterbacks and receivers can be able to answer this as well. It is important to have a lot of time knowing how a receiver likes to catch a ball, knowing how they beat defenders, which routes they are better in, Does this guy like back shoulders versus jump balls or versus the ball, where he has to go run up under it? That takes time. It takes time. I'll leave you guys with that. What do you guys think about the NIL and how it's impacted college football? Peace.